Marcus Wellington stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse office, watching snow fall over the city like confetti at a celebration he wasn't invited to. The digital clock on his mahogany desk blinked 6:47 p.m. Christmas Eve. Outside, people rushed through the streets below, their arms full of colorfully wrapped packages, their faces bright with anticipation. Marcus felt nothing but the familiar weight of emptiness pressing against his chest. His phone buzzed for the 15th time that hour. Another business associate wishing him happy holidays, another invitation to a party he wouldn't attend, another reminder that despite his wealth and success, he would spend tonight alone. Well, not entirely alone. His 7-year-old daughter Emma waited for him at home with the nanny, probably already in her pajamas, probably already fighting sleep to wait up for him. Marcus pressed his forehead against the cold glass. The city sparkled below him, 1,000 lights twinkling in the winter darkness. Somewhere down there, families were gathering. Children were leaving cookies for Santa. Parents were assembling toys in secret. The world was wrapped in warmth and togetherness, but Marcus felt like he was watching it all through thick glass, separated from the joy by something invisible but impenetrable. He had everything money could buy. The penthouse apartment that occupied an entire floor of one of the city's most exclusive buildings. Cars that cost more than most people's houses. Closets full of custom suits. Bank accounts that could weather any storm. But none of it filled the hollow space that had opened in his chest 3 years ago when his wife Sarah died, suddenly, and, without warning, leaving him alone to raise their daughter. Marcus grabbed his overcoat from the leather chair and headed for the elevator. His assistant had left hours ago, along with everyone else in the building. Even the cleaning crew had finished early to get home to their families. The office felt like a mausoleum, all marble and silence. In the parking garage, his BMW waited in its reserved spot. Marcus slid behind the wheel and sat there for a moment, engine running, heat slowly filling the car. He should go straight home. Emma would be waiting. The nanny, Mrs. Chun, was patient, but it was Christmas Eve and she had her own family to get to. But Marcus couldn't make himself put the car in gear. The thought of going home to that big, empty apartment, of trying to manufacture Christmas cheer when he felt so hollow inside, felt impossible. He drove instead through the city streets, no destination in mind. The snow was falling heavier now, coating everything in white. Holiday lights blazed from every storefront. A Salvation Army volunteer rang a bell on the corner, her red bucket swinging. Marcus stopped at a red light and watched a family cross the street in front of him. The father carried a small child on his shoulders. The mother held the hand of an older kid. They were laughing about something, their breath making white clouds in the cold air. They looked happy. They looked whole. The light turned green, but Marcus sat there, watching them disappear into the crowd. A car honked behind him, and he jolted back to awareness, pressing the accelerator. He turned down a side street. Then, another, finding himself in a part of the city he rarely visited. The buildings here were older, shabbier. The holiday decorations were sparse, plastic instead of the elaborate displays downtown. This was where the city's forgotten people lived, where the glitter and glamour of his world never reached. Marcus drove slowly, unsure why he was here, unsure what he was looking for. The streets were quieter in this neighborhood. Fewer people rushing to holiday gatherings. Fewer lights and windows. More darkness. More emptiness that somehow matched what he felt inside. He turned another corner, and that's when he saw her. She sat on the sidewalk in front of a closed laundromat, her back against the brick wall. A black woman, maybe in her 50s, though it was hard to tell. Life on the streets aged people in ways that had nothing to do with years. She wore layers of clothing, none of them adequate for the weather. A thin coat, a scarf with holes, gloves with the fingers cut out. Next to her sat a battered shopping cart filled with plastic bags and what looked like all her worldly possessions. Marcus slowed the car, not sure why. He saw homeless people all the time. The city was full of them. He usually looked away, uncomfortable with their presence, unsure what to do about a problem too big for any one person to solve. His usual strategy was to write a check to a charity at the end of the year and let someone else deal with the messy reality of poverty. But something about this woman caught his attention. Maybe it was the way she sat so still, not asking for anything, not holding a sign, not even seeming to notice the cars passing by. Or maybe it was the expression on her face, visible even from this distance. Not defeated or desperate. Something else. Something almost peaceful, which seemed impossible given her circumstances. Marcus found himself pulling over to the curb, parking illegally in front of a fire hydrant. He sat in the warm car, engine running, watching her through the window. She hadn't moved, hadn't looked his way. She just sat there as snow accumulated on her shoulders and in her short gray hair. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked himself. "Go home. This isn't your problem. You can't save everyone." But he couldn't make himself drive away. Before he could talk himself out of it, Marcus turned off the engine and stepped out into the cold. The wind hit him immediately, cutting through his expensive wool coat like it was paper. He crossed the sidewalk toward her, his dress shoes crunching in the fresh snow. Up close, he could see more details. Her face was weathered but kind. Her eyes, when she finally looked up at him,
We
were
have to
clear
decide now.
and
There's no more
intelligent.
time.
I
There
know,
was
but
no
this is
fog
too
of
much.
drugs
What if we
or
can't?
alcohol, no vacant stare. She looked right at him, right through him really, and Marcus felt suddenly exposed, like she could see all the emptiness he tried to hide behind his expensive clothes and confident exterior. "Evening," she said. Her voice was rough from the cold, but steady. "Hi," Marcus replied, suddenly feeling foolish. What was he doing here? What did he have to say to this woman? I noticed you sitting here. It's pretty cold." She smiled slightly. "It is that." Marcus shifted his weight, uncomfortable. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" "Need anything?" She seemed to consider this. That's a big question for a cold night. "I mean, like food, or money, or somewhere warm to go." The woman studied him for a long moment. "You always stop to ask homeless folks what they need." "No," Marcus admitted. "I don't." "So why tonight? Why me?" It was a fair question. Marcus didn't have a good answer. "I don't know. I was just driving and I saw you and I thought." "I don't know what I thought." Christmas spirit got you. There was no mockery in her tone, just curiosity. "Maybe, though I'm not feeling particularly festive." "No," she said, looking at him carefully. "I don't suppose you are. Lots of money, but not much joy. That's written all over you." Marcus bristled slightly. "You don't know anything about me, don't I?" She gestured to his coat, his shoes, the BMW parked at the curb. "I know you got money. I know you're out driving alone on Christmas Eve instead of home with family. I know you got that look in your eyes like you lost something important, and all the money in the world can't buy it back." Her words hit Marcus like a punch to the stomach. How could this stranger see so clearly what he barely admitted to himself? "I have a daughter," he said, not sure why he was telling her this. "She's waiting for me at home." "But you're not there." "No." "Why not?" Marcus looked away, staring at the falling snow. "I don't know how to give her what she needs. She wants a father who's present, who's happy, who makes Christmas magical. I don't know how to be that person anymore." "Since when?" "Since my wife died. 3 years ago." The words came out flat, emotionless. Marcus had gotten good at talking about Sarah's death without feeling it. The woman nodded slowly. "That's hard. Losing your partner. Being left alone with a child to raise." "I'm managing," Marcus said automatically. "We're fine. She has everything she needs. Everything money can buy, you mean? What else is there?" The woman laughed, a short bark of sound. "Lord, you really asking me that? You, in your $1,000 coat, asking a homeless woman what else there is besides money." Marcus felt his face flush. "I didn't mean, I know what you meant." She waved a hand. "And I'm not offended. But if you really don't know what else there is, then you're poorer than I am, despite all that money." That's easy to say when you're not the one sleeping on the street. "You think I don't know about money? About what it can and can't do?" The woman shifted, adjusting the thin coat around her shoulders. "I had money once. Had a nice house, a good job, a family. Had everything you probably think makes life worth living. What happened? Life happened. My husband got sick. Medical bills ate through our savings. Insurance didn't cover half of what he needed. I took care of him for 2 years, watched him waste away, held his hand when he died. By then, the money was gone. The house was foreclosed. My job was long gone because I couldn't work and take care of him at the same time. And my kids." She paused, pain crossing her face. "My kids couldn't handle their grief. Couldn't handle seeing me struggle. It was easier for them to walk away, to pretend their mother didn't exist, than to deal with the messy reality of what our life had become. I'm sorry, Marcus said quietly. Don't be. I'm not telling you this for pity. I'm telling you because you need to understand something. When I had money, I thought that was what mattered. Thought that was what would keep my family together, what would make us happy. But money didn't save my husband. Didn't keep my children from leaving. Didn't stop me from ending up here. So what does matter? The woman looked at him with those clear, knowing eyes. Love matters. Real, present, showing up everyday love. Forgiveness matters. Being willing to be vulnerable, to hurt, to feel things even when it's hard. Connection matters. Truth matters. Being real with people instead of hiding behind walls of money and success and pretending everything's fine when it's not. Marcus felt something crack inside him. I can't, he whispered. If I let myself feel it, if I stop running, the pain will destroy me. No, it won't, the woman said gently. The pain will be hard. It'll hurt worse than anything. But it won't destroy you. You know what will destroy you? Spending the rest of your life running from it. Spending the rest of your life half alive, going through the motions, giving your daughter money and things, but never giving her you. That will destroy you. And it'll destroy her too. Tears burned in Marcus's eyes. He blinked them back furiously. He didn't cry. Hadn't cried since the funeral. Crying meant admitting the pain was real, meant letting the grief win. Your daughter, the woman continued. She doesn't need presents and a perfect Christmas. She needs a father who shows up, who's present, who's willing to feel things and be real with her. She needs you to grieve with her, not run from it. She needs you to build a new life together, not try to pretend the old one never ended. I don't know how, Marcus said, and his voice broke. Sure you do. You just got to stop running. Got to go home. Got to sit with that little girl and be honest about how hard this is. Got to cry with her. Got to let her see that you're hurting too, that it's okay to hurt, that you can hurt together and still be okay. What if I can't? What if I'm too
You can't
broken?
keep doing this. It's
You're
not safe.
broken.
I know, but
You're
we don't
grieving.
have a choice.
There's
Not
a
now.
difference.
There's always a
The
choice.
woman
Think
reached
about what
into
you're
one of her
saying.
bags and pulled out a small object. It was a wooden heart, carved and sanded smooth, hanging from a piece of string. My husband made this for me. Before he got sick. Before everything fell apart. I've kept it all this time, through everything I lost. You know what? Marcus shook his head. Because love doesn't end just because someone dies. Because the heart he carved for me reminds me that I was loved, that I'm still capable of loving, that all the loss and pain doesn't erase what was good. You lost your wife. Your daughter lost her mother. That's real, and it's terrible, and you got every right to grieve it. But you're still here. Your daughter's still here. And you still got the capacity to love each other, to build something new, to find joy again. But not if you keep running. Not if you keep hiding from the pain. She held out the wooden heart. Take this. I can't take that. It's yours. And I'm giving it to you. Take it. Let it remind you that you got a heart still beating in that chest, even if it's broken. Let it remind you to go home to your daughter, to show up, to be present, to stop running. Marcus took the wooden heart with shaking hands. It was smooth and warm from being in her pocket. He could feel every detail of the carving, the care that had gone into making it. Thank you, he whispered. Don't thank me. Just go home. Be with your girl. Stop wasting time pretending you're fine when you're not. Life's too short and too hard to waste it on pretending. Marcus looked at this woman who had nothing but saw everything. Can I at least give you some money? Or help you find a shelter for tonight? She smiled. I got a place. I'll be all right. But if you want to help someone, there's a shelter 2 blocks down. They're always looking for volunteers, for donations, for people who give a damn. You got money and time. Use it for something that matters. Marcus nodded. He reached into his wallet and pulled out all the cash he had, several $100s. He held it out to her. The woman hesitated, then took it. You sure? Please. It's Christmas. All right then. Thank you. I'll put it to good use. Marcus stood there for another moment, not wanting to leave, feeling like something important had just happened, but not quite sure what. What's your name? He asked. Ruth. I'm Marcus. I know. I can see your name on that fancy key fob. She smiled. Go home, Marcus. Your little girl's waiting. Marcus walked back to his car in a daze. He sat behind the wheel, clutching the wooden heart, feeling something shift inside him. The armor he'd built around himself, The walls that kept the pain at bay, they were cracking. And instead of terrifying him, it felt like relief. He started the car and pulled away from the curb. In his REA, the apartment was quiet when Marcus walked through the door. Too quiet. He stood in the marble foyer, snow melting off his coat onto the expensive rug, and felt the familiar emptiness of the space surround him. This wasn't a home. It was a museum. Beautiful and cold and lifeless. The wooden heart was still clutched in his hand. He looked down at it, studying the careful carving, the smooth surface worn by years of being held. Ruth's husband had made this with his own hands, had poured love into every groove and curve. And Ruth had carried it through losing everything, through homelessness and hardship and being abandoned by her own children. She'd kept this small piece of love alive through all of it. What had Marcus kept alive? What had he carried through his grief besides money and anger and an ever-present sense of drowning? Daddy. He looked up to see Emma standing in the hallway, still in her regular clothes, not the pajamas he'd expected. Her dark hair hung loose around her shoulders, tangled and uncombed. She looked smaller than her 7 years, fragile in a way that made Marcus's chest ache. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, his voice rough from crying in the car. "You're still up. Mrs. Chen said I could wait for you." Emma walked slowly toward him, her feet bare on the cold floor. She left dinner in the kitchen. She had to go home to her family. The words hung between them. Her family. Not our family. Just hers. "I'm sorry I'm late," Marcus said. It was what he always said. The automatic apology that meant nothing because he was always late, always working, always somewhere else. Emma shrugged, but Marcus could see the hurt in her eyes. "It's okay. You're always late." The casual acceptance of his absence hit Marcus harder than anger would have. His daughter had learned not to expect him, had learned that work came first, that money mattered more than time, that his presence was optional. When had he taught her that? When had he let that become normal? Marcus hung up his coat and walked into the living room. The space was immaculate, decorated by a professional service he'd hired. A massive tree stood in the corner, perfectly symmetrical, covered in matching ornaments and twinkling lights. Presents were arranged beneath it in neat stacks, wrapped in coordinated paper. It looked like something from a magazine. Beautiful and soulless. He remembered Christmas mornings with Sarah. The chaos of wrapping paper everywhere, Emma shrieking with delight, the three of them in pajamas drinking hot chocolate and eating too many cookies for breakfast. The tree had been crooked and the ornaments didn't match and half of them were handmade. It had been perfect. This sterile display wasn't Christmas. It was a stage set, a pretense. Emma followed him into the room and sat on the edge of the pristine white couch, her hands folded in her lap. She sat like a guest in her own home, careful not to disturb anything. Marcus looked at his daughter and felt something inside him break open. Really break. Not just crack, but shatter completely. He saw clearly, maybe for the first time since Sarah died, what he'd done to them. How he'd taken his grief and built walls with it. How he'd used money to replace presents. How he'd let his daughter grow up lonely in a beautiful cage while he pretended everything was fine. "Emma," he said, and his voice shook. "Can I sit with you?" She looked surprised. "Sure." Marcus sat next to her on the couch, closer than he'd sat in months. Close enough to see the questions in her eyes, the hope she was trying not to show, the walls she'd learned to build too. "I need to talk to you about something," he said. "Actually, I need to talk to you about a lot of things. But first, I met someone tonight. A woman named Ruth." Emma tilted her head. "Who's Ruth?" "She's someone who lives on the streets. Someone who lost everything but still has something I forgot I had." Marcus opened his hand, showing Emma the wooden heart. "She gave me this. Her husband made it for her before he died. And she gave it to me because she saw something I needed to see." "What did she see?" "That I've been running away. From the sadness. From missing your mom. From you." Emma's eyes went wide. "From me?" Marcus nodded, tears starting to flow again. He didn't try to stop them this time. "Yeah, baby. From you. Not because I don't love you. I love you more than anything in the world. But being around you hurt because you look like her and sound like her, and every time I saw you, I remembered everything we lost. So I worked all the time. I bought you things instead of spending time with you. I tried to make everything perfect on the outside so I wouldn't have to feel how broken everything was on the inside. I miss her too, Emma whispered. I miss her so much. I know you do, sweetheart. And I'm so sorry I haven't been there for you. I'm sorry I made you deal with that alone. You were sad, Emma said, and the understanding in her voice broke Marcus's heart all over again. I could see you were sad. I tried to be good so you wouldn't be sadder. Oh, Emma. Marcus pulled his daughter into his arms, really held her for the first time in forever. She was stiff at first and used to this kind of contact from him. But then she melted against him and started to cry. You don't have to be good to make me less sad. You don't have to take care of me. I'm the parent. I'm supposed to take care of you. But you're never here. Emma sobbed into his chest. You're always working. And when you are here, you're not really here. You're on your phone or thinking about work or just looking sad. I thought maybe if I was perfect, if I didn't bother you, you'd be happy again. That's not your job, baby. That's not your responsibility. I'm the one who messed up. I'm the one who handled this wrong. They sat there on the perfect white couch in the perfect decorated room and cried together. Really cried. The kind of crying that had been building for 3 years. The kind that hurt and healed at the same time. Marcus didn't try to stop Emma's tears or fix her sadness. He just held her and let her feel everything she'd been holding back. And he let himself feel too. All the grief he'd been running from. All the pain he'd tried to bury under work and money and constant motion. It crashed over him like a wave, and he let it come, let it wash through him, let it break him open. When the storm of crying finally subsided, they sat in the wreckage of their grief, exhausted and raw but somehow lighter. Marcus wiped Emma's face with his sleeve, then his own. I miss Mom, Emma said quietly. I miss her every single day. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. Do you think she'd be mad at us? For being so sad? Marcus thought about Sarah. About her fierce love, her bright laugh, her absolute inability to tolerate dishonesty. No, he said. I think she'd be sad that we were hurting. But I don't think she'd be mad about the sadness. I think she'd be mad that I tried to pretend it wasn't there. That I didn't talk to you about it. That I made you handle it alone. I felt alone, Emma admitted. Even though you were here sometimes. I felt alone all the time. I'm so sorry. Marcus cupped her face in his hands. I'm so sorry. I can't change what I did. I can't give you back the time I wasted. But I can change what happens now. I can show up. I can be present. I can be honest with you about how hard this is instead of pretending everything's fine. Really, starting right now. Emma looked at him with hope and skepticism warring in her expression. What about work? Work will still be there. But you won't be 7 forever. I've already missed too much. I'm not missing any more. You promise? Marcus knew promises were dangerous. Knew he'd let her down before. But he also knew that Ruth was right. He couldn't keep running. He had to choose his daughter, had to choose life, had to choose to be present even when it hurt. I promise, he said. And if I start slipping back into old patterns, I want you to tell me. I want you to call me out. Can you do that? Emma nodded solemnly. Okay. They sat in silence for a moment, adjusting to this new honesty between them. Then, Emma noticed the wooden heart still in Marcus's hand. Can I see it? She asked. Marcus handed it to her. She turned it over in her small hands, tracing the carved grooves with her finger. It's pretty, she said. Why did the lady give it to you? To remind me that hearts break, but they don't stop working. That love keeps going even after loss. That I needed to stop running and come home to you. A homeless lady told you that. Yeah, she did. Emma looked up at him. She sounds smart. She is. She's been through things I can't imagine. Lost everything. But she still had wisdom to share. Still had hope. Still knew what mattered. What matters? Love, Marcus said simply. Real, showing up everyday love. Being present with the people who need you. Being honest about your feelings instead of hiding them. Connection. Truth. The stuff that money can't buy. Emma was quiet for a minute, thinking. Then, she said, I think Mom would like that lady. Marcus smiled through fresh tears. Yeah, I think she would too. Can we help her? The lady? Ruth. Her name is Ruth. And, yes, we can help her. She told me about a shelter a few blocks from where I met her. We can volunteer there. Donate. Do something that actually matters instead of just writing checks and forgetting about it. Can we go tomorrow? On Christmas? If they're open, yes. We can go tomorrow. Emma smiled for the first time that evening. A real smile that reached her eyes. I'd like that. Me too, baby. Me too. They sat together in the quiet apartment, both of them drained from crying, but somehow closer than they'd been in years. The perfect tree twinkled in the corner. The perfect presents waited beneath it. But none of that seemed important anymore. Daddy, Emma said softly. Yeah. Can we do something different for Christmas? Instead of just opening presents and eating fancy food, what do you want to do? Emma thought for a moment. Can we look at pictures of Mom? And tell stories about her? I'm starting to forget things. Like what her voice sounded like. And I don't want to forget. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Of course we can. I have videos too. On my phone and computer. We can watch those. Really? You have videos? Yeah. I haven't watched them since she died. It hurt too much. But maybe it's time. Maybe we should remember her together. I'd like that, Emma said. Then, hesitantly, can we make cookies? The kind Mom used to make at Christmas? The ones with the candies on top. The thumbprint cookies? Yeah, those. Marcus realized he hadn't baked anything since Sarah died. The kitchen, with all its expensive appliances, was barely used. He ordered takeout or Mrs. Chen cooked. But Sarah had loved baking, especially at Christmas. The apartment used to smell like cookies and cinnamon and joy. Yes, he said. Let's make cookies. Even if they turn out terrible. They won't be terrible. Mom taught me the recipe. I remember. When did she teach you? The last Christmas. Before she died. She said someday I'd want to make them for my own family, and she wanted to make sure I knew how. Marcus had to close his eyes against the wave of pain and love that crashed over him. Sarah had known, had prepared Emma in the way she could, had tried to give her pieces of herself to carry forward. Then, let's make them, he said. Right now? It's not too late. It's almost midnight, Emma pointed out. So? Who says you can't bake cookies at midnight on Christmas Eve? I think Mom would approve. Emma giggled, and the sound was like sunlight breaking through clouds. Okay, let's do it. They went to the kitchen together, hand in hand. Marcus dug through cabinets looking for ingredients while Emma found the recipe card, yellowed and stained, in Sarah's handwriting. Looking at those familiar loops and swirls hurt. But it was a good hurt. The kind that meant something was healing instead of festering. They mixed butter and sugar, flour and eggs. Emma stood on a stool at the counter, measuring and stirring with serious concentration. Marcus helped, following her lead, letting her be the expert. She remembered things he'd forgotten. The way Sarah always added an extra splash of vanilla. The way she'd hum while she worked. Mom used to let me lick the spoon, Emma said. Then, you can lick the spoon, Marcus replied. They shaped the dough into balls and pressed thumbprints into the center, filling them with bright jam. The cookies went into the oven, and the apartment filled with the smell Marcus remembered from before. From when they were whole. From when Sarah was alive and laughing and making every ordinary moment feel like magic. While the cookies baked, Marcus got his laptop, and they curled up on the couch together. He opened the folder he hadn't looked at in 3 years. Videos of Sarah. Hundreds of them. The first one started, and there she was. Alive and moving and smiling at the camera. Her voice filled the apartment, warm and real and exactly as they both remembered. Hi, baby, Sarah said to whoever was filming, probably Marcus. Are you recording? Good. Emma, come here. Show Daddy your dance. 4-year-old Emma ran into frame, all wild curls and gap-toothed grin. She spun in a circle, arms outstretched, laughing. Sarah caught her and tickled her, and they both collapsed in giggles. Marcus felt Emma tense next to him. Then, relax. I forgot how silly she was, Emma whispered. She was so silly, Marcus agreed, his voice thick with emotion. She made everything fun. They watched video after video. Sarah at Emma's 5th birthday party, face painting all the kids. Sarah doing a terrible job wrapping Christmas presents, using way too much tape. Sarah teaching Emma to ride a bike, running alongside, encouraging, celebrating every small victory. Sarah cooking dinner while dancing to music only she could hear. Sarah reading bedtime stories with different voices for every character. Sarah being alive, being present, being theirs. Emma laughed and cried watching her mother. Marcus did too. But this time the grief wasn't something to run from. It was something to feel together. Something that proved how much they'd loved and been loved. She was really pretty, Emma said during one video. She was beautiful, inside and out. I look like her. You do. You have her smile. Her eyes. Her way of tilting your head when you're thinking about something. Is that why you looked sad when you looked at me? Marcus pulled Emma closer. Sometimes. But not anymore. Now when I look at you, I'm going to see the gift she gave us. The piece of her that's still here. And I'm going to be grateful instead of sad. The timer beeped from the kitchen. The cookies were done. They paused the video and went to take them out, golden and perfect, studded with bright red jam. They looked exactly like Sarah's used to look. We did it, Emma said proudly. We did. She'd be proud of us. They ate warm cookies at midnight on Christmas Eve, sitting at the kitchen island, licking jam off their fingers. Outside the windows, snow continued to fall over the city. The perfect tree glowed in the living room. But here in the kitchen, with cookie crumbs on the counter and flour on their clothes, this felt like Christmas. This felt like home. Daddy, Emma said, cookie crumbs on her chin. Yes, sweetheart. This is the best Christmas Eve we've had since Mom died. Christmas morning came with bright sunlight reflecting off fresh snow. Marcus woke early, something unusual for him lately. Usually he slept late on holidays, trying to escape into unconsciousness for as long as possible. But today felt different. Today he felt awake in a way he hadn't in years. He made coffee and stood at the window, watching the city come to life. Somewhere out there, Ruth was waking up too. Probably cold, probably hungry, but somehow still full of the wisdom that had changed his life in one brief conversation. Emma appeared in the doorway, hair messy from sleep, still in her pajamas. Merry Christmas, Daddy. Merry Christmas, baby. Marcus held out his arms, and she came to him, letting him hug her tight. Did you sleep okay? Better than usual. I had good dreams. About Mom. Yeah? What did you dream? That she was proud of us. For making cookies, and watching videos, and being honest with each other. Marcus felt warmth spread through his chest. I think she is proud of us. They made breakfast together. Not the elaborate Christmas brunch Mrs. Chin usually prepared. Just scrambled eggs and toast and leftover cookies from last night. They ate at the kitchen table, something Marcus couldn't remember the last time he'd done. Usually he ate at his desk, if he ate at all. Can we still open presents? Emma asked, eyeing the pile under the tree. Of course. But, Emma, I want to be honest with you about something. She looked worried. What? I bought you a lot of stuff. Really expensive stuff. Because I thought that's what would make you happy. But I know now that's not what you needed. You needed me. So if the presents disappoint you, if they're not what you really wanted, I understand. Emma considered this. Can I tell you what I really wanted? Please. I wanted you to be home more. I wanted you to be happy when you looked at me instead of sad. I wanted us to feel like a family again instead of just two people who live in the same place. Her words were simple, but devastating. This 7-year-old child had been carrying so much, understanding so much, wanting so little beyond what any child deserved, and what Marcus had failed to give. That's what I want too, Marcus said. And that's what I'm going to work on. Every single day. Not just today. Every day. Okay. Emma smiled. But I still want to see what's in the boxes. Marcus laughed. Fair enough. Let's go see. They moved to the living room. Emma dove into the presents with appropriate 7-year-old enthusiasm. A new tablet, designer clothes, expensive toys, a dollhouse that cost more than most people spend on rent. She was polite about all of it, thanking him for each gift, but Marcus could see the truth. These things didn't light her up. They were nice. They were generous. But they weren't what she needed. Then, Emma found a small box near the back of the tree. It was wrapped differently than the others, in paper that looked hand-drawn on. She picked it up curiously. I don't remember wrapping that one, Marcus said, confused. Emma opened it carefully. Inside was a bracelet made of beads, clearly handmade, with letters spelling out her name. There was a note in handwriting Marcus didn't recognize. Emma read it aloud, her voice getting quieter as she went. To Emma, your mommy asked me to make this for you before she got too sick. She wanted you to have something made special, something that said your name, something that reminded you that you were loved. She was my friend in the hospital, and she told me all about you. She said you were smart and kind and the best thing that ever happened to her. I'm sorry it took me so long to give this to you. I wasn't sure how to find you, but I finally did. Merry Christmas. Love, Nurse Janet. Marcus felt like someone had knocked the air from his lungs. Sarah had done this. In her final days, when she was sick and dying, she'd been thinking about Emma, making sure she had something special, making sure love survived death. Emma held the bracelet with trembling hands. Mom made this for me. She had someone make it for you. She was thinking about you, planning for your future even when she was so sick. Why didn't we get it before now? I don't know. Maybe the nurse didn't know how to find us. Maybe she tried and couldn't get through. But she found us now. On Christmas, when we needed it most. Emma slipped the bracelet on her wrist. It fit perfectly. She stared at it, touching each letter of her name. This is the best present, she whispered. Better than all the other stuff. Marcus couldn't speak. He just nodded, tears streaming down his face. Sarah was still taking care of them, still loving them, still reaching across death to remind them they were cherished. They sat together in the quiet morning, Emma wearing her bracelet, Marcus holding the wooden heart Ruth had given him. Two objects that cost nothing in money and everything in love. Two reminders of what really mattered. Can we go to the shelter now? Emma asked. To help Ruth and other people who need it? Marcus checked his phone. It was still early. Let me call and see if they're open today. The shelter answered on the second ring. Yes, they were open. Yes, they needed help. Christmas was their busiest day. Families came looking for warm meals. Homeless people came seeking shelter from the cold. They could use all the volunteers they could get. Marcus and Emma got dressed in casual clothes. Not the expensive outfits they usually wore. Just jeans and sweaters. Comfortable. Real. They drove through the quiet Christmas morning streets to the neighborhood where Marcus had met Ruth. The shelter was in an old church building, warm and bright and full of people. Families crowded around tables eating breakfast. Children played with donated toys in a corner. Volunteers moved through the space carrying food, blankets, supplies. A woman with gray hair and a kind face met them at the door. Welcome. I'm Sandra. I run this place. Are you here to volunteer? Yes, Marcus said. My daughter and I wanted to help. And we're looking for someone. A woman named Ruth. She was on the streets last night. I met her and she told me about this place. Sandra's face lit up. Ruth? Yes, she's here. She came in early this morning. She does that sometimes, comes to help others even when she needs help herself. Come on, I'll show you where she is. They followed Sandra through the crowded space to the kitchen. And there was Ruth, wearing an apron over her layers of clothing, stirring a huge pot of soup. She looked up when they entered, and her face broke into a huge smile. Well, look who decided to show up, she said to Marcus. I was hoping I'd see you again. You told me to come, Marcus said. So I came. We came. This is my daughter, Emma. Hi, Emma, Ruth said warmly. Your daddy told me about you last night. Said you were something special. Emma stepped forward shyly. He told me about you too. About how you helped him understand things. Thank you for that. Ruth wiped her hands on her apron and knelt down to Emma's level. You're welcome, sweetheart. But I didn't do much. Your daddy did the hard work. He chose to listen. He chose to go home. He chose to show up. That's all him. We made cookies last night, Emma said. The kind my mom used to make. And we watched videos of her. And we cried together. It was sad but also good. That sounds perfect, Ruth said gently. That sounds like exactly what you both needed. Sandra cleared her throat. Well, if you folks want to help, we've got plenty to do. Marcus, you can help serve food. Emma, there are kids in the play area who could use someone to read to them or play with them. Ruth, you keep doing what you're doing because that soup smells amazing. They scattered to their tasks. Marcus found himself behind the serving line, ladling soup into bowls, passing out sandwiches, smiling at people who thanked him with genuine gratitude. These were people who had nothing, who were struggling just to survive, who faced hardships Marcus couldn't imagine. But they said thank you. They smiled. They treated each other with dignity and kindness. A man in a wheelchair rolled up to the line. He was missing his left leg. His face was scarred, but his eyes were bright and friendly. Merry Christmas, he said to Marcus. Merry Christmas, Marcus replied, handing him soup and a sandwich. This your first time volunteering here? Yeah. How'd you know? You got that look. Like you're seeing things for the first time. Like the world just got a lot bigger and a lot smaller at the same time. Marcus smiled. That's exactly how I feel. Well, thanks for being here. Not everyone shows up. Not everyone cares. So it means something that you do. The man rolled away, and Marcus felt something shift in his chest. He was making a difference. A small one, but real. Not writing a check from a distance. Not donating money and forgetting about it. Actually being present. Actually showing up. Actually seeing people as people instead of problems to be solved by someone else. Emma found him an hour later, her eyes bright with excitement. Daddy, I read 3 books to the kids. And we played blocks. And one little girl showed me her drawing. It was really good. That's wonderful, baby. Are you having fun? Yeah. But, Daddy, these kids don't have nice houses like ours. They don't have lots of toys. But they're still happy. How come? Marcus thought about how to answer. Because happiness doesn't come from stuff. It comes from being with people who love you. From feeling safe. From having enough. These kids have parents or guardians who care about them. They have food in their bellies and a warm place to be today. That's what matters. The rest is just extra. Emma nodded seriously. Like how all my presents were nice, but Mom's bracelet was the best because it was made with love. Exactly like that. They worked through the morning and into the afternoon. Marcus served food, cleaned tables, listened to stories from people who'd lived lives he couldn't imagine. Emma played with children, read books, helped serve cookies for dessert. Ruth moved through the space like a blessing, offering words of encouragement, helping wherever needed, somehow making everyone feel seen and valued. Around 2 o'clock, Sandra called everyone together. I want to thank all our volunteers today. You've made this Christmas special for so many people. But, especially, I want to thank some new faces. Marcus and Emma came today because they met Ruth last night. And Ruth, as many of you know, has been helping here for 2 years now, even while living on the streets herself. Marcus looked at Ruth in surprise. You've been helping here while homeless? Of course, Ruth said simply. Just because I don't have a home doesn't mean I can't help others. We all got something to give. But why didn't you tell me you already knew about this place? Why did you phrase it like you were just suggesting somewhere I could help? Ruth smiled. Because it wasn't about me. It was about you. You needed to choose to show up. You needed to take action. If I told you I volunteered here, you might have just given me money and felt like you'd done your part. But that's not what you needed. You needed to get your hands dirty. To see people. To be present. To understand that helping isn't about money. It's about showing up. Marcus shook his head in wonder. You're incredible. You know that. I'm just doing what I can with what I got. Same as everyone else. Sandra stepped forward. Ruth, we've been trying to convince you to accept housing for 2 years now. We've got connections. We can find you a place. Why won't you let us help you? Ruth was quiet for a moment. Because there are people who need it more. Families with kids. People with health problems. I'm managing okay. I don't want to take a spot someone else needs worse. That's noble, Marcus said. But it's also stubborn. You deserve a safe place to sleep. You deserve stability. What I deserve and what I need are different things, Ruth said firmly. And, right now, what I need is to know that families are being taken care of first. Marcus looked at Emma. She was watching Ruth with admiration and concern. Then, he looked around the shelter at all the people who'd been helped today. All the lives touched by this place. By volunteers like Ruth, who gave everything they had even when they had nothing. An idea was forming in Marcus's mind. A way to use his resources that actually mattered. That actually made a difference. Sandra, he said, can I talk to you for a minute? Privately, they stepped into Sandra's small office. Marcus closed the door and turned to her. What does this place need most? Sandra laughed tiredly. Everything. More food. More blankets. More space. More funding. More volunteers. More hours in the day. This building is falling apart. The heating barely works. The roof leaks. We're always one crisis away from having to close down. What would it take to fix everything? To expand? To make this place what it needs to be? Are you asking hypothetically or actually? Actually, I have money. A lot of money. I've been using it to buy things that don't matter. I want to use it for something that does. So tell me, what would it take? Sandra pulled out a folder, her hands shaking slightly. I've got a wish list. A dream budget. Things we've needed for years but could never afford. New heating system. Roof repair. Kitchen expansion. More beds. A medical clinic. Job training programs. But it would cost how much? She showed him the number. It was substantial. But Marcus spent more than that on luxury items and investments that only made him richer. This would actually change lives. I'll fund it, he said. All of it. And I'll set up an endowment to cover operating costs for the next 10 years. But I have one condition. Sandra looked wary. What condition? Ruth gets housing. Not temporary. Permanent. A real apartment. Safe and stable. And she gets a job here, if she wants it. A paid position. Because she's been volunteering for 2 years, and she deserves to be compensated for the value she brings. I've been trying to convince her to accept help for years. What makes you think she'll listen now? Because I'll tell her the truth. That she saved my life last night. That she gave me back my daughter. That she showed me what really matters. And that the only way I can honor that gift is by making sure she's taken care of. Not as charity. As gratitude. Sandra's eyes filled with tears. You're serious about this? Completely. I'll have my lawyers draw up the paperwork this week. The money will be transferred by the end of the year. And Ruth gets housing and a job, or I walk away. That's not fair. You're using her as leverage. No, I'm making sure someone who gives everything gets something back. She can say no to the job if she wants. But she's not saying no to the housing. Not anymore. There are other people who need help. She's right about that. But helping them doesn't mean she has to sacrifice herself. There's enough to go around if people like me step up and actually use our resources for good. Sandra smiled through her tears. Okay, let me talk to her. But you better be ready to be persistent. Ruth is stubborn. So am I. And I learned from the best that sometimes you have to break through people's walls to help them. They went back out to the main room. Ruth was cleaning tables, humming to herself. Emma was helping her, chatting away about something. Watching them together, Marcus felt his heart swell. In less than 24 hours, this woman had changed everything. Had shown him what he'd been missing. Had given him back his daughter and himself. Sandra called Ruth over. Emma followed, not wanting to miss anything. Marcus stood there trying to figure out how to say what needed to be said. Ruth, he began, I want to help this place. I want to fund repairs and expansions and make sure it can keep operating for years to come. Ruth smiled. That's generous. Sandra's been dreaming of improvements for years. This will mean the world to her and to everyone we help. But there's a condition. Ruth's smile faded. What kind of condition? You have to accept housing. And a job here, if you want it. Paid. With benefits. Because you've been giving your time and energy for free for 2 years, and that ends now. Marcus, I can't. Yes, you can. And you will. Because you told me last night that I needed to stop running. That I needed to show up. That I needed to let people help me even when it was hard. Well, now I'm telling you the same thing. You helped me. Now let me help you. But other people need, yes, and they'll get help too. There's enough money to help everyone. But you don't get to keep sacrificing yourself. You don't get to keep giving everything when you have nothing. Not anymore. Ruth looked at Emma, who nodded solemnly. You should say yes. My daddy has a lot of money. He should share it with people who need it. And you need it. Out of the mouths of babes, Sandra said softly. Ruth's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Marcus urged. Say you'll let us take care of you the way you take care of everyone else. Say you'll accept the help you deserve. Ruth was quiet for a long moment. Then, she looked at the wooden heart hanging around Marcus's neck. He'd put it on a longer string that morning, wore it under his shirt where it rested against his chest. You're wearing it, she said. Every day, Marcus promised. To remind me of what you taught me. To remind me to show up. To be present. To let love matter more than money. You learned well. So teach me more. Take the job. Let me fund this place. Let's work together to help people. Let's make sure no one else has to feel as alone as we both felt. Please. Ruth wiped her eyes. You're persistent. You know that. I learned from the best. Finally, Ruth smiled. A real smile that lit up her whole face. Okay. Yes. I'll accept the housing. And the job. But only if you promise to keep showing up. Not just today. Not just with money. But actually being here. Actually being present. Actually giving your time. Done, Marcus said immediately. Emma and I will volunteer every week. Won't we, Emma? Yes. Emma said excitedly. I love it here. The kids are nice, and the cookies are good, and everyone is happy even though they don't have much stuff. Then, it's settled, Sandra said, wiping her own tears. Ruth, you're going to get an apartment and become our official community outreach coordinator. Marcus, you're going to fund our dreams. And All of us are going to work together to make this place everything it can be. Merry Christmas to us." They all laughed, tears and joy mixing together. Around them, people in the shelter continued eating, talking, living, unaware that something significant had just happened, that lives had just changed, that love had just won. Marcus looked around at the shabby but warm building, at the people who had nothing but treated each other with dignity, at his daughter playing with children who lived completely different lives than hers, at Ruth, who'd been homeless but was still rich in wisdom and kindness, at Sandra, who'd been running this place on hope and prayer and sheer determination. This was what mattered, not his penthouse or his car or his expensive suits. This connection, community, showing up, being present, using what you had to help others, letting people help you, building something together that was bigger than any one person. Sarah would have loved this, would have been right here with them, probably organizing everything, making sure everyone was taken care of, laughing and hugging strangers, and making them feel like family. She would have been so proud of Emma, so proud of Marcus for finally understanding what she'd always known. That love was the only thing that mattered, that everything else was just window dressing, that showing up was the greatest gift anyone could give. Marcus pulled Emma close and looked at Ruth. "Thank you," he said simply, "for everything, for seeing me, for telling me the truth, for giving me back my life." "You did that yourself," Ruth said. "I just pointed the way. You're the one who had the courage to walk it." "We walked it together," Marcus corrected. "And we'll keep walking it. All of us. Together." And as snow fell outside the windows of the old shelter, as people laughed and ate and found warmth on a cold Christmas day, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. He felt whole, not perfectly healed, not without pain or grief, but whole, present, alive, ready to keep showing up, keep being honest, keep loving his daughter, and honoring his wife's memory by living the kind of life she would have wanted for them. It wasn't the Christmas he'd planned. It wasn't perfect or polished or anything like the magazine-worthy holiday he'd tried to create with money. But it was real. And real, Marcus was learning, was always better than perfect. The wooden heart rested against his chest, warm with his body heat. Emma's bracelet caught the light as she moved. And somewhere, somehow, Sarah was smiling, proud of them for finally understanding, finally living, finally loving the way she'd always loved them. Fully, honestly, present, real. This was the gift Ruth had given them. Not the wooden heart itself, but what it represented. The courage to feel, the permission to hurt and heal at the same time. The understanding that broken hearts still beat, still love, still connect. That loss doesn't have to mean the end of joy. That showing up, even when it's hard, is the bravest thing anyone can do. And Marcus would keep showing up. Every single day. For Emma. For Ruth. For the people at the shelter. For himself. For the memory of Sarah. For the life they still had ahead of them. Because that's what love demanded. Presence. Honesty. Courage. Showing up. Being real. And, finally, after 3 years of running, Marcus was ready to do exactly that. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes again. It is, isn't it? Can we keep doing this? Being real? Talking about her? Not pretending. Yes, I promise. No more pretending. Emma smiled and took another cookie. Good. Because pretending is exhausting. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. It really is. They finished the cookies and cleaned up the kitchen together. Then, Marcus carried Emma to her room. She was getting too big to be carried, all long limbs and angles, but she curled against him like she used to when she was small. He tucked her into bed and sat on the edge, smoothing her hair back from her face. Review mirror. He saw Ruth still sitting there, watching him go. Then, he turned the corner, and she disappeared from view. Marcus drove through the snowy streets, but this time he wasn't running. This time he was going home. To Emma. To the pain he'd been avoiding. To the grief they needed to share. To whatever came next. The wooden heart sat in his palm, warm and solid. A reminder that hearts break and keep beating. That love survives loss. That it's never too late to stop running and start living again. As Marcus drove, he realized Ruth had given him more than a carved piece of wood. She'd given him permission to feel. Permission to hurt. Permission to be human instead of perfect. Permission to show up for his daughter as he was. broken and grieving, instead of pretending to be whole. The city lights blurred through his tears as he finally let himself cry.